Hey everyone, I hope that you're doing well. I just wanted to check in with you as we're starting Unit 3 today. I was able to respond to and provide feedback on all of the work that you've done thus far for Unit 2. So please give that a read and let me know if you have any questions. You can always use the feedback that I give you to revise and resubmit if you would like to earn up to full credit. Or you can take the feedback and use it to help you on the next unit's assignments. So probably do both of those things, or at least the second one. That's what the feedback is there for, just to help us to hone our historical thinking skills and think more deeply about how we engage with history and how we relate it to the present. So for Unit 3 then, today of course you will be completing the reading tweets, posting the ID step to the timeline. Tomorrow you will complete the connection step on the timeline and either the journal or the discussion. And the topic for the final project is also due by tomorrow, by Saturday evening. And I say evening, I mean by midnight, so by the deadline stated in the learning modules. Many of you have already gotten ahead on those things, and that is awesome. Many of you have already completed the topic and research question for the project. I've sent you feedback on those as well if you've already submitted them. If you're not sure what to choose for a topic for the research project, I'm happy to help you brainstorm. When you contact me about that, whether via email or text or whatever it may be, please let me know some of the things that you're interested in generally so that I can point you in the right direction. Since the topic is wide open, you can choose anything relative to New Mexico history, and since everything has a history, it would be really easy to find something that fits with your interests that you could research for class. And so I would like you to be engaged with the project and have it be something that you are interested in researching. So that's the goal. And again, let me know if I can help with brainstorming. I wanted to thank you all for your thoughtful comments on the Spanish colonial history of New Mexico that we studied in Unit 2. I added to the discussion on Oñate and provided feedback on your journals relative to the Oñate's Foot controversy and the scenario that I gave you where you write a letter to the county manager of Rio Arriba about the statue itself. Something we should keep in mind with statues and historical monuments is that they are not historical evidence. So we often hear the idea that those things help us preserve the past. That can be somewhat true, but they're not the primary source of information on history. Instead, monuments reflect the time in which they were created, often more so than they actually reflect the historical figure or event that they claim to demonstrate or present. And I say that because, the people who, as we heard in the 99% Invisible podcast on Oñate's Foot, the whole reason of promoting Oñate was to commemorate that 500-year anniversary of the Spanish conquest of New Mexico. And it was a way for, or I should say 400th anniversary. It was a way for Nuevo Mexicano, Hispano people to celebrate their heritage, but something that we came across and emphasized in the discussion was that emphasis on Hispanic heritage, at least through the person of Juan de Oñate, had the purpose of continuing the oppression of indigenous people in the area, right? It discounted their stories. It was a way of taking pride in a certain history, but at the expense of another one. And I think that's one of the most problematic things about colonialism, especially the multi-layered colonialism that we face here in New Mexico, is that in order to escape marginalization or oppression, it's too easy for us to often assert power over another group of people in a way that is detrimental to them. And I think that's a big part of what's going on with the controversy over the Oñate statue. And his memory. He was someone who was brutal and violent, even considered such by his own people. And many of you emphasize the reality that he was forever banished from New Mexico. He was convicted of the crimes he was accused of committing. He did those things. Many of the other settlers even thought that he was just too much in those regards. And so, again, it's that question of why would we want to venerate him? Because statues are here to honor and memorialize. We study history by getting into primary sources, by engaging with the production of historical narratives. Monuments and statues don't so much produce narratives as they kind of reflect historical memories and the current values of our communities. So that's what we should be asking ourselves. What is this showing in terms of our values as a community? Who is it privileging and who is it oppressing? And then also, is this helping us to face the difficult histories that we have in a way that will help us to become better? While I was getting into the discussion, I shared a James Baldwin quote. I've reading a lot of Baldwin. He's not New Mexico history, but his work is very relevant to civil rights, and we will talk about civil rights relative to New Mexico in the coming days. But a famous Baldwin quote that he wrote in 1962 in the New York Times is, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced." And I think that is very relevant to the conversation about the one that I started in the activity feed about genocide, the one that we were having around Oñate and Spanish colonialism, the one that we're going to have upcoming about the American conquest of New Mexico through the U.S.-Mexico War. All of these things have yet to be faced in meaningful ways by our communities at large. How can we do that? And, what does that mean? So I'm going to share just a podcast about James Baldwin, because even though it's sort of tangential, it's relevant, I think, to our conversations. And I think his writing's just beautiful. So you have to just bear with me on that. Hopefully it's something that's meaningful to some of you. All right. Well, I hope you're having a good Friday. And you have a good weekend. I know there's lots of work to do, and I appreciate and commend you on everything that you've been doing, and I'll talk to you soon.